you know how to animate easily a CCTV camera and use that technique even on a turret? How to fill up everything with liquid without simulation? How to add keyframe for throwing up or falling down the object? Or how to appear and disappear object in a certain way like blade of a lightsaber? Or turn everything into smoke and disappear them? I'm from Middle East, it's in my blood. And at the end I'm going to show you how to make a display material without using any other software. So if you are interested, let's dive in. So I selected the camera and isolated from the finish scene. It's very messy and it may confuse you. So we're going to work in here. The first step is to find a place that camera would rotate from there. In my opinion, tip of this hemisphere is a good place, so I add empty there and parent the rotating part of camera to the empty. Then we need another empty, which I'm going to call it target. And then select the first empty. In constraint, add a lock track. Select the target. And in track axis, select X. Constraint only work on 2 axes. As you can see, it doesn't move on Z axis. To solve this problem, we need to duplicate this lock track and put the lock axis on Y. And here we go. So here's another example on a turret. I put the link of this turret in description. So everything is parented to this empty except the base part because it doesn't rotate. It's a base to hold the turret. And the gun part parented to this empty. And as you can probably guess, it's a child of this empty. Okay, here we go. For the base empty, add a lock track, select the target, and because it's exactly works the opposite of target, instead of Y, choose -Y. For the gun empty, add a lock track 2, select the target, and then select for locked axis, select X, and for the track axis, select -Y. If you can't find out which axis should be selected for the track axis and which axis should be selected for the locked axis, do it randomly, it's okay. But we are running into problem if we go much more down. So select the limit rotation, select Y. For the maximum, it's a good amount. For the minimum, I add -60. And here it is. Let's go to the next part. Okay, from the finish scene, I select the battery shell, put it on isolate. So for the beginning, I duplicate the battery shell and delete all the modifiers and polygons also, except the bottom one. We have to correct the topology by using a mirror modifier and knife tool. We can speed up our process. So I put it on time lapse, but you can get the whole idea behind it. After finishing the topology correction, I apply the mirror modifier, then select all the polygons and extrude them. After that, we need a vertex group. So I hold Ctrl and tap 2 times the negative. In vertex group, make a new vertex group and assign the polygons to it. So in modifiers, add a displace modifier. In vertex group, select the vertex group that we made. Let's decrease the amount and make a new texture. For the texture, use a cloud. Back to modifiers again and adjust the amount. And for the direction, I choose Z. Add a subdivision surface, but we need an edge loop to control the amount of smoothing on the edge. Put it on auto smooth. For viewport level, I put it on 2. So for making the animation, I add a circle and put the vertices on 3. It helps to see how much it's rotating. Place it on the liquid, rotate it 90 degrees on Y, apply rotation. In rotation, I use a driver which is hashtag frame. Divided about 30 times. It's okay. In displace, instead of local, choose object and choose this circle. And here we go. Hey! Again, I selected all these objects from the finish scene and isolate them. They had the keyframes from the previous, but I delete them. So here we go. For animating the throwing up object, the first thing we should know is when we're going to start. I don't want to start it at the frame 0 because I want to have a little offset from the beginning. And it's 30 frame. Why 30 frame? Because we have 30 FPS. So I offset 1 second from the beginning of animation, then throwing up the object. For adding keyframe, select the object, hit I, and then choose location. It gives us 3 graphs on X, Y, and Z of the location. Of course, I don't want to animate it on X axis, so I delete the X location. From here, hit X. Then I hide the Y location. The cycle of going up and coming down, in my opinion, is 1 second for this object. In the graph editor area, hit I and choose only selected channel. So it makes the keyframe only on the Z location. And then in the middle of it, which is 45, add another keyframe. Select the middle keyframe, move it on y-axis of the graph. So move it up until it can touch this handle of the switch. So let's see what we do have. It's technically okay, but it's not beautiful. So I select all the keyframes, press T and choose the Bezier. Let's see again. After that, I want to have more stop at the top. So I select the middle keyframe and scale it. See it again. In my opinion, it's Okay, and it looks beautiful. So hide the Z location and turn on the Y location. The first keyframe is at the 30 and I want the last keyframe be at the 60. So make a keyframe there and move it up. So let's play animation again. At the beginning of the animation, we have one frame off. It's look like the object is slippery. For fixing it, I select this keyframe and rotate it a little bit. And of course, for the other keyframe, let's play it again. Rotate it more. Okay, it's perfect. You can also play with the type of the keyframe of the Y location. Put it on, for example, on Bezier. And you can see the difference. From now, it's depend on your taste. Okay, let's go for the falling down object. So for the animating the falling down of this hook, I turn off the keyframe of with floor sign so we can focus better on the hook. Everything is parented to this empty here. For example, on frame 30, add a location keyframe, delete the X and Y, and put it on 40, add another keyframe. Grab it and move it on here. So it's going to act like this. I move it on X to slowing it down. Okay, I want to when it's on 50, it doesn't stop there. Have a little bit of shock. Go to active keyframe or press T and choose elastic. And at frame 60 or 65, add another keyframe. So it's showing up. Let's play it with the default amount. It's moving very hard. For amplitude, it's how much you want to its shock, and the period help you to adjust the timing. After a while, let you play with the numbers, and of course you can select that keyframe, and if you go furthermore, it have more time to react. If I get close to the elastic keyframe, which is this one, it won't act very well, but if I get far away, it would act okay. And this is it. From the scene, I select the light stabber and the blade and isolate them. The first step is to add an empty, so I choose the sphere one, scale it down, and apply the scale. Move it on Y-axis about in the middle. Then select the blade. Put the viewport on material preview. In material editor, add a gradient texture. Then select it and hit Shift T to appear the texture coordinate and mapping node. Put the texture coordinate on object, and for object select the empty. We need a color ramp node. put the color ramp on constant and move the white color about in the middle. Then hold Ctrl Shift and click on color ramp. The mapping of gradient texture is not set, so put the Y rotation on 90 and Z rotation also on 90. And the color is showing up. So if we moving the empty, the gradient that's going to act as a mask is also moving. Add another principal BSDF, then a mix shader. Use the gradient as factor. Okay. We can adjust the color ramp. For the new principal BSDF, turn down the alpha, and if we put the viewport on render, it's worked very well. Here we go. See you in the next part. Okay, for turning object into a smoke, let's start it with basic, which is making the smoke. So select the mesh, go to object, add quick effect, quick smoke. If I press play, the object starts emitting smoke. Okay, the next step is to show you how to emit smoke from certain areas. Delete the smoke, go to physics and delete the fluid. Put the mesh on textured. Okay, go to edit mode. Select some polygons that you want to smoke be emitted from there. I choose these ones. Go to vertex group and add a vertex group. Assign the polygon that we made to the vertex group. Now if I hit select, the polygon should be selected again. Press tab. Okay, make another smoke effect again. Let's put it on texture. And when you selected the mesh, go to physics. And in setting, select the vertex group that we made. Go to first frame and press play. And smoke only emitted from those polygons. Okay, before we go into the final step, I want to explain another thing, which is dynamic paint. In previous part, we saw that we make a vertex group which was static, but we want to make that vertex group dynamic. In this case, we need a brush to be dynamic. So I made a box and animate it like this. So easy. So I put it in new collection and call it brush. So select the head, go to physics tab and add a dynamic paint. Put the type on canvas. On the surface type, select the weight. And for brush collection, select the collection we made. Any object in that collection is going to affect on our dynamic paint. Then check the dissolve and put the time on 1. In output, we need a vertex group. So I'm going to make a new vertex group, call it whatever you want. I call it smoke. And add there. Select the brush in dynamic paint. Define it as a brush. Add the brush. Put it on bounds because I want to see the head mesh. Let's press play. And as you can see, we're having a beautiful dynamic vertex group. Okay, for the final step, I turn on the animation and put the brush near the blade of light stabber. So if I press play, it's going through the brush. And if I go to weight paint, we have a dynamic weight paint. Go to object and object quick effect, quick smoke. Let's adjust the domain and scale it a little bit. Now select the head mesh, go to physics, in vertex group add the vertex group we want, and if I press play, the smoke emit from the red part of vertex group. But we want a wind to blow up the smoke. Put the strength on something like 10. Do it again. And it's perfect. If we increase the resolution of domain and then turn on the adaptive domain for the threshold at 0.005, we would have a beautiful smoke. I also want to add another effect, which is the disappearing after turn to smoke, like the previous part that I explained. Go to shader editor, add a gradient again, press Shift T, put it on object, and instead of that empty, I'm going to use the box that we used for dynamic paint. Add a color ramp. Just rotate the Y on 90. Add another principal BSDF and which the alpha goes on 0. Add a mix shader. Use the gradient as factor and connect the two materials. Put the viewport on render. Hide the brush. In color ramp, turn white to black and turn black to white. And now the effects work very well. It was just a simple example of how turn things to smoke. You can download the file on my Gumroad for free and see the other options that I used. For making texture for a display material, we don't need any other program like Photoshop. Just open up a empty Blender file and add a text. Press tab and you can edit the text, say whatever you want. I want to write Blender if I Then in font setting, you can change the font. I want to use this font, for example. Then I use the cycle and GPU and put the maximum sample on 200. In background, I set the strength on 10 and make sure the color is pure white. And if I put the viewport on render, we can see the text because we don't have a material for it. Make a new material, put the base color on black and turn off the specular. If you don't turn off, the material start turning to gray. And the end part is add a camera. I put the aspect ratio on an even number to have a square aspect ratio. then put the camera instead of perspective on orthographic. Now if I hit F12, I have a beautiful mask texture. And now save it so we can use it on the display material. For making the display material, first of all, I add a wave texture and increase the amount to something like this. Then add color ramp texture. Choose another color that you want the background of display have. In my opinion, something bluish looks cool. Okay, let's make an emission material and a mix shader. Duplicate the emission. I choose a yellowish color for it. And now import the texture we made and connect it to the factor. So I make a math node. And put it on subtract. Connect the texture mask to the bottom socket. Duplicate the color ramp we made for the wave texture. Turn the blue color to the white. And connect the wave texture to the color ramp. And color ramp to the top socket of math node. And after that, just add an invert node. And we are finished with the display material. Then we're going to duplicate the surface, move it a little bit on X to have offset from the display, then add a glass shader to it, make the base color a little black, and for roughness add 0.5. And also we can go back to the display material, increase the yellow emission strength to have more glow on post-processing. I just want to thank you all for watching, and this is the result of 2 weeks working. As always, you can find the file for free on my Gumroad, and link is in description. Here we go.
Self-destruction activated. Self-destruction activated.
If you like my content, you can consider subscribing, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and artstation. Link is in description. Thank you.